Get your money, don't care who judge. Stay out the way, surround yourself with nothing but love. Stay out the way, if you a gangster, killer or thug. Stay out the way, put your faith in the man above. Stay out the way, chill with your family, siblings and blood. Stay out the way, kick it with your girl, forget hit in the club. Stay out the way, mind on your money, ain't no switching it up. Stay out the way, stand out the way, what you thought that it was. Stay out the way. If you stuck down on your luck, not feeling righteous, did a petty crime, just looking for some excitement. Now your name on affidavits and court indictments, get paid for a lot, but your freedom is priceless. You did the crime, you do the time, don't let it surprise you. Real stories from the heart, just to open your eyes up.
Yo, what's good, y'all? What's the word? What's going on? How everybody doing out there? Y'all already know what it is, man. We back again, and it's time for the weekend banger. That's a lot, y'all. It's time for the weekend banger. It's time for the weekend banger, and I got one. I keep a banger at all times. But like I always say before I start these videos off, I have no problem delivering this content to everybody that's out there working hard, working a 9 to 5. Everybody that's out there with their own business, getting to that bag the legit way. I make sure y'all got something to watch in the mornings, man. I promise y'all, there's no problem on my end. I also have no problem making sure I'm warning y'all and telling y'all about how dangerous prison is. I only ask for one thing in the process. And that's for y'all to just stay out the way, man. That's it. Like, I'm not asking for a lot, man, by trying to save y'all lives, man. Like, I don't want to see y'all put y'all family in a predicament where you the one that was providing for them, you the one that was helping them do everything, and now you're gone. You're in a place where they gonna have to take your spot, man. Like, I just be feeling like it's not fair, man, for the people that we be leaving behind and out here taking for granted, man. When we get in trouble, man, and make bad decisions and leave our family and go to jail and go to prison, we leave all that pressure on them, man. We got to tighten up with that, man. Like, I feel like if we out here grown enough to be out here doing crimes and running around, sliding and gliding, whatever the case, man, we got to be able to not be able to get on that phone and call our family and be worse, man. I'm letting y'all know now, that's starting to look whack. It's starting to look really bad, man. Get on that phone begging our peoples who've been telling us to stay out the way, man, for money. It's not looking good, man. So you can change all that today by just saying, you know what? I'm going to stay out the way, man. I'm going to start making better decisions. I'm going to put myself first. I'm going to think about my family, the people that's going to get affected if I ever leave. I'm going to think about them before I do something stupid. That's all you have to do, man. I'm letting you know now, staying out the way will be easy. But you got to try it, y'all. That's it. Period. But y'all already know what it is, man. This is the weekend banger. So what did y'all do this one? Like, shit, scraps one. Let's get it. Let's go. But it's time for business. It's time for business, y'all. And the story I got for y'all today is called He Had Dirt on the Sergeant. Part 1. Crazy story, crazy situation, but we are aware, people. We in penitentiary. Crazy things happen all the time. And I'm telling y'all, man, like the officers, the counselors, the people that work medical, like nobody is safe when you're in a prison environment, man, regardless if you're working there or not. The people that work in prison, they already know if somebody wanted to just go lunatic and maniac on them and put their hands on them, they can do it. They know they have a dangerous job, man. So like all the rules apply to them. Like you can't be in there working and think nobody gonna try to bribe you or try to get you to do something out your will. People are going to not care. People don't really care that you work for the place that they doing time at, man. Dudes will still try you, man. I have seen some of the craziest stuff when it comes to COs and inmates, man. I'm letting you know now, man. So with that being said, though, we on Lawrenceville for this, y'all. We on Lawrenceville. And I can remember being in 60 building for this one, y'all. For the second time around game, man. And like, when I was over in 60 building, man, for the second time around, like, I felt like I was almost done. I felt like I was almost in washed up mode, man. Not really there yet, but I was still just feeling like, man, like, you know, I really had somebody just move me from a building that I didn't get a charge or nothing. They just moved me out the building, man. Like, I just had a sergeant that just didn't really like me, man. He didn't like a couple of us in there. Like, I was one of the ones that was on his S list. So, like, he ended up moving me back to the building that they thought was my original building. My original building was in San Francisco. My original building was 40 building. But I got moved from 40 to 60 quick. So they probably just was like, you know what, move him to the other side of the yard. And, like, that's what they did, man. They moved me back to the other side of the yard. So, like, I done been over there now probably about 2 months now, man. So, like, I done kind of got adjusted to it. Ain't no moving back to where I was just at because it's a problem with the sergeant. So no matter who I talked to, no matter who I tried to pay or whatever the case, I could never get back to 33 pod, man. Like while I was over in 60 building for the second time around and I saw that it wasn't like a San Francisco environment, I told myself I was chilling, man. I was like, you know what? I'll get back over there when I can get back over there because I'm not going to be able to get back over there while that sergeant over there anyway. And if I can't get back to 30 building, 33 pod, I don't want to really get back over there. So I was just like, you know what? I'ma stay put, man, and just mind my business over here. So the whole time I was over there, like, opportunity would come. It wasn't like how 30 building was, where a whole lot of dudes had motion and it was just jumping. Like 60 building was more discreet. 60 building had more dudes that was on the low, more older dudes that already knew that you can't be on the stage, because putting you on the stage will put you in the hole. And next thing you know, you're getting put on a bus. So like it was more, I would say more smarter dudes. Like 30 building, they had guys like that, but it was more in the honor pod than it was in those other blocks. Like the other blocks, like I was in 3 and 1 pod, like they was more like younger dudes, still dudes running around doing maniac stuff. But for the most part, 60 building was chill and laid back, man. So like I done ran across a lot of dudes that I done got cool with since I done been in there. I done bought the La from a couple dudes since I've been in there. It's one dude that be getting the tobacco sometime. And it's still a lot of old heads in there too. So like I'm kind of just getting adapted to the building, getting adapted to the part that I'm in. It's a bunch of new people in here, man. There's dudes from Norfolk over here too, but still though, like it wasn't like how 30 building was. So while I'm getting adjusted and getting adapted, man, I just was kind of observing everything and watching a lot of stuff from the top tier, like y'all know I normally do, man. So I'll come out my cell and I'll just see what's going on. Now, it used to be a lot of things going on. The red team used to be in there. They used to handle their business. They used to get the money sometime. They had a little La play that they would run into, or somebody used to send them to La or whatever it was. They would have La from time to time. In my building, there used to be another dude in there that would have the tobacco. It used to be jumping in there, man. Like they had dudes in there that had girlfriends. They had dudes in there that was messing with the COs, man. We had a cool unit manager. We had cool sergeants, man. Like they was just really, you didn't even have a permanent sergeant when it came to our building. They were just putting people in there, and like nobody was permanent. So like for the most part, I was liking how this building was, y'all. To be honest with y'all, man, I was cooling in this building. I was definitely like chilling in this building, man. So it was just one dude, man. We're gonna call him Tim, man. Now Tim was, I'm gonna say Tim was from Northern Virginia. Tim was his name, but I'm gonna say he was from Northern Virginia. But Tim was cool though. Like I had met Tim on Sussex too. And he was a little older than me, man. And he was one of those dudes that like to get to the bag as well. And when I was already in 60 building, he came in 60 building. So it was like when he came in there, he saw that I was in there. He was about to leave until he saw I was in there. He ain't even from Norfolk, but he knew me from Sussex since I was young. So like when he seen me, he was like, "Oh, T White, man." He still calling me T White. Like, T White, you ain't here, man? I'm like, "Yeah, man." He like, "Man, what's up with this junk, man?" I'm like, "It's all right." So he's like, "What's up with my roommate?" I'm like, "Man, he all right, man." You know what I mean? So the dude Tim didn't do no vices. You know what I mean? He didn't do no vices. He ain't mess around with nothing. He didn't do nothing. I'm talking no tobacco, no La, no drinks, no nothing. He didn't do nothing. He just liked to get money. So he was asking about his roommate. I told him his roommate was all right. I was like, "Bro, this pod laid back." I was like, "They don't be shaking down. They don't be doing nothing, bro. They don't really be messing with dudes like that." I said, "I like the building and I like the pod." So I was like, "It's up to you though." I was like, "I mean, you trying to get to the other side of 80 building." He was talking about 80 building. He had some homeboys that was over there. I'm like, "Yo, it's up to you." So he used to kick it with me from time to time, but I already knew he was about money. He was about the motion. So like, I was just sitting back chilling. And he came to me one day. When he came to me one day, man, he was like, "Look," he was like, "Man, for real." He was like, he trying to make a play. He was like, he know a dude in 80 building. He ran a proposition down to me. He was like, "Should he do it if I want to put some money into it?" It was a dude that had a roller. Like he broke it down to me, but I done been through so many situations with dudes that have rollers, and I'm just in the cut, just like kind of like sponsoring the party. And like a lot of times it wasn't going right. So like if I was like one-on-one with the dude, whoever he was talking about that had the route, then I would have probably invested in the play with him, man. You know what I mean? So I told him I was good. I told Tim I ain't really want to get into that play. Like, you know what I mean? I couldn't do it. Like, so he was like, "Man, for real, he gonna try to find his own play." You know what I mean? He was like, he gonna try to find his own play. So Tim was one of those dudes. He had the good gift of gab. Like to be an older gentleman, like he had a good gift of gab. He kept himself together. He didn't look like an old dude. He didn't have a great beard and he had a bald head. He didn't have a great beard and all that, but he kept himself, you know what I mean? Like as far as like his attire, like his clothes and all that, shoes, everything was straight. So like he kept everything up top notch. So like he was one of those inmates that was older, but still would talk to the COs. Like sometimes the women, the dudes, like you'll see him like kind of like, what he doing. So like when he usually doing that, you can kind of decipher that you definitely know that Tim's trying to put work in. So like it's so many people on Lawrenceville that you be seeing doing that though. Sometimes you couldn't even really just pinpoint who's doing what. So, but one day I seen Tim hollering at the sergeant dude though. Like he was hollering at the sergeant dude, and for real, like, he was talking to him, and I seen it when we was coming back from child. And this sergeant dude, we working 70 building, but he started working our building. Then he started working our building more than he started working 70 building. So like he'll be back and forth. But when he used to work our building, we never would see him like that. The only time you would see him is every blue moon. He would finally come in our pod and just stand at the brick wall. The only time you would see him is every blue moon. He would come in our pod and stand at the brick wall. Now, he would be in them other pods, but he wouldn't come in 61 pod like that. So when we was coming back from Child, I seen Tim. Tim was standing there, kind of like by the wall on our building, talking to him. We was coming back from Child. So like the CO in front of the sergeant and the CO in front of the building. So I'm pretty sure he's not talking nothing illegal in front of the CO right there and the sergeant, but I seen Tim talking to the sergeant, you know what I mean? So he didn't say nothing to me that first day. He didn't say nothing to me when I first seen him talking to him that day, but we had went outside the next day and Tim didn't go outside. And I seen Tim out in the hallway talking to the sergeant dude again. Now the sergeant dude, man, we're gonna call him Sergeant M, man. You know what I mean? Now he out there talking to Sergeant M. And you know, Sergeant M was kind of like he was slightly kind of like a fat dude a little bit, man. I give Sergeant M, I'll say Sergeant M was probably about in his 40s or something like that. He was probably in his 40s, but he was probably about my height, kind of fat dude. You know, he didn't give us no problems. He didn't give us no problems at all. But I seen Tim, you know what I mean? I already know Tim down on him. So like I say, Tim didn't say nothing to me the first day, but when I seen him in the hallway talking to him one day, he saw that I saw. So when he came back in the pod, he was chilling. Then he saw me. He was like, "Hey, T White, what's up?" I was like, "What's up?" He was like, "Hey, you see what's going on?" I was like, "What you talking about?" He was like, "Man, you're like, man, yeah, I know him from such and such camp." I was like, "Oh, he used to work somewhere else?" He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Hey, I'm letting you know now, like he ain't no Boy Scout." I was like, "For real, man?" I was like, "Man, I don't put nothing past nobody that work on Lawrenceville, to be honest with you, man." So like, you know, what he was telling me, like it definitely could be the truth because it's so many people on Lawrenceville that you wouldn't even expect to bring that package, y'all. So boom. He was saying that Sergeant M was one of them. I'm like, "Bro, you joking?" He like, "No, I'm not." He was like, he rock with me too. Like, he just trying to fill me out a little bit, man. He like, you know what I mean? He got a lot of stuff. He said he got a lot of stuff going on, but he was like, he gonna rock with me though. That's the thing. So I'm like, "That's what's up, man." I said, "Now, see, that's different right there." I said, "That's not the same as you telling me about the dude in 80 building and, you know, we gotta, you know what I mean?" I said, "Man, I need something that's more concrete." I said, "No, we see him." So I was like, "Look, that right there," I said, "I'm definitely rocking with you. You get that jump." So he was like, "Say no more, say no more." He was like, "All right, I'll let you in. Yeah, you already know that. I'll let you in." I mean, I said, "Bet." So he dipped off and he continued doing him. I continued doing me. So when the sergeant would come into the brick wall, you would see Tim come holler at him. You know what I mean? Tim would come holler at him. A couple words, you know what I mean? You never know what was going on. So I remember one day, I don't know what that happened, man, but we ended up getting somebody new in our pod. So I looked up, it was a new dude in our pod. I don't know where he came from. I didn't hear the police noise. I didn't hear a cart. I didn't hear nothing. I just came out my cell one day to do my same old nosiness look and hit the tier and just look around. And I looked around and spotted somebody that looked unfamiliar. I was like, I looked at the laundry dude. I was like, "Yo, he knew in here." He was like, "Who you talking about?" I was like, "Dude right there." He was like, "Oh." I was like, "Dude right there." He like, "Oh yeah, the dude on the paper." I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "Where you come from?" He was like, "Oh, he just came out the hole. He was in the hole." Yeah, he been in the hole for about a week. He was in this building. He was like, he was over in 62 pod. I was like, "For real?" He was like, "Yeah, that's Mr. Chambers." Gonna call him Chambers, you know what I mean? I'm like, "Chambers?" He like, "Yeah." I'm like, "We was over in 62. He like, "Yeah, he been over in 62 pod. He had a job and everything." I was like, "So what did he go to the hole for?" He was like, "Man, I don't know." He was like, "They ran down on his cell. They locked him and his roommate up, but they was like, they thought they found something. They didn't know what it was. It was paraphernalia or whatever." They was like, but at the end of the day, he got to come back on the compound. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I have seen this situation happen. I've seen this happen. They'll run down on dudes, maybe find something, maybe not find something, and they will end up coming back in population. Like Lawrenceville was bootlegged to the point that you will see something like this, man. It was something that you will see sometimes from Lawrenceville. So seeing the old head come out of that, like I couldn't judge him on that, y'all. I really didn't even know the truth, man. So boom. But he is a new dude in the block. So now, you know, I'm not on point, but I don't know him. I never seen him. I didn't even know he was in 62 pod. So I don't really care, to be honest with you, man. But, you know, as I looked at him, he was kind of like a tall, brown skinned dude. He had the bald head. You know what I mean? He looked like a regular black dude. You know, he was just look regular. He had a slim dude, kind of like, he ain't look like he was intimidating or he was somebody that you got to worry about, nothing like that. He just was a normal dude. So I didn't know him. I kept on moving on with my life. So they put us on standby for child. So when they put us on standby for child, everybody getting ready. So I went in my cell to get my shirt, get myself together. As I was in the cell, I hear the police noise. I'm like, I come out, I'm like, I look, it's the sergeant coming in like this. He like, "Get your stuff ready, you about to leave." He hit the brick wall. He was like, Yeah, y'all hurry up, man, hurry up. Everybody get your stuff together. Everybody get your stuff together. Everybody was like, oh, that's Sergeant M. So ain't nobody tripping. Everybody go back to doing them. So they was like, exit out for child, exit out for child. So as we was getting ready to exit out for child, I watched the old head dude that just came in the dude chambers. His cell was on the bottom tail on the left-hand side, like the fourth cell. I seen him come straight out his door and walk straight to the brick wall. So when he walked to the brick wall, he just was over there like, you see that he was talking, you know, he was talking to the Sergeant M. So Sergeant M was giving him feedback. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that you watch when you see a dude talking to a CO. Like, the feedback is big. Like, you got to see if it's the feedback is, do it look crazy? Do it look stupid? Do it look like they hiding stuff? Like, they look like they was friends. That's what that conversation looked like. That conversation that Chambers and Mr. M was having, that junk looked like they was friends, y'all. So boom. Matter of fact, they had such a great conversation. Chambers didn't even go to child. He was dressed like he was going to child, but when we left out, so the sergeant stayed in our pod. So we left out. By the time we went and ate and came back, which is like 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, I come back in the pod. The sergeant is still at the brick wall. So we come back in. He's still at the brick wall talking to the dude Chambers. The dude Chambers is talking to him, having a major conversation. Now, when he started seeing everybody come back from child, the sergeant went on and made his way out the hallway back into the front of the building where he's supposed to be at. So Chambers went back to minding his business, you know what I mean? So when I come back in, I went to my cell. As I'm in my cell chilling, like I was just in there taking my stuff off, you know what I mean, about to get back comfortable. I hear a knock at the door. I look, I'm like, yo. See, I go by, I'm like, yo. He was like, I was like, oh, that's Tim. He came to the jungle. He like, I'm like, come in, man. He was like, all right, come in the cell. I was like, what's up? He was like, man, you see that Bama, man? Man, he all in my way, man. Yeah, man, Bama all in my way, man. He all in my way, man. Hey, look, I've been trying to talk to Chambers because he told me he was going to holler at me before the weekend. Like, I've been trying to talk to him, man, but this Bama who they just moved, who was this dude they just moved in here with T Weezy? I was like, man, they saying his name Chambers. They saying he was next door. You know what I mean? They say he was in 62 part. I don't know the dude, though. You know, I've been new over to the building. So I was like, I really don't know him. He was like, man, he all in my way, man. I've been trying to holler at Chambers, man. I can't even say nothing. This dude was talking to Chambers since we went to child. He was like, he out in the hallway right now. I was like, he in the hallway? He was like, yeah. So as he's saying it, I'm like, this junk crazy. So I was like, this is wild. So me and him stepped out the cell. We just stand in front of my door, which is not too far from the laundry area. So we just kind of like looking every time our slider open up, because dude was still coming back from child. Every time the door opens up, we looking out in the hallway. You can see Sergeant M kind of like in the middle of the hallway directing traffic. And you just see Chambers standing right beside him by the ice machine. So we just looking like, man, like, dang, he ever gonna let dude go? So like, that's how I look. But we don't know what's going on. We don't know nothing what's going on. So we standing there laughing about it. So Tim was like, man, he got the cuss on him, man. He ain't gonna nothing. So the larger dude, he air hustling. He ended up hearing us. He was like, we all talking about the dude Chambers who just moved in here. We looked at him. Tim was like, yeah, that's what we talking about. He was like, shh, oh, you ain't gonna get him to breathe. He ain't gonna let nobody breathe. I'm letting you know now, like, especially with Sergeant M. He was like, he be down on Sergeant M. I'm letting you know now. Every time I used to have to go over the 62 pod and get the laundry, or I used to be washing clothes for dudes over there sometime. He was like, man, every time I went over there, man, he was like, that man talking to Sergeant M at the brick wall. I was like, for real, man? He was like, man, yeah, like, man, like, you know what I mean? He was like, man, he be getting on with the tobacco. I was like, for real? He was like, yeah, he be getting the tobacco. So I'm like, all right, you know what I mean? So like, you know, I didn't really want to speculate or, you know, say that was Sergeant M that was bringing them tobacco, man. But, you know, 1 + 1 equals what? Equals 2, y'all. That's a lot. Sergeant M bringing that pack, man. So, boom. So that was kind of music to me and Tim ears to hear that at least that Sergeant M is doing something. So Tim was like, I could see how Tim was thinking. Like, you know what I mean? Like, as we was getting information from the laundry dude. So he hit me like, let's go back in my room. So we go back in my room. He was like, see, he was like, man, I figured that. He was like, somebody told me that, you know, he was dealing with somebody. Like, he was like, he used to be telling me that he got a lot going on sometimes, but he was like, that's who he probably dealing with, though. He was like, man, but I don't care, though, man. I'm just trying to get mine, and, you know, he can do whatever he want. I ain't hating on dude. I was like, nah, we ain't got to hate on him. You know what I mean? We ain't got to hate on him, but at the end of the day, though, man, like, you know, since he is somebody that's bringing that pack, I said, you do need to turn the pressure up on him a little bit. I said, because you don't want to mess around and miss out, and the dude that be staying in his face end up getting him toe off, and then the next thing you know, there ain't no route no more. So I was like, try to strike right. Iron's hot, though. You know what I mean? He was like, yeah, I'm going to holler at him, Slim. I'm going to holler at him. I'm like, all right. So he dipped out the cell. He leave. So the rest of the day, you know, before Sergeant M got off, because he used to work the morning shift, you know what I mean? He'll get off like 4 or something. I forgot what the shift change used to be, but he'll get off like 4 or something like that. So, you know, while he was still in there, he was kicking it with dude that evening. So Mr. M get off. When Mr. M was gone, we about to come out for evening. It's the evening time now, you know what I mean? We coming out for after the dinner rec, you know what I mean? We out in the pod. So this is winter time, so we didn't have night rec at the moment. So 2 o'clock was our last rec. So ain't no outside rec at night, late night, none of that. So we all out in the pod just after the 6 o'clock rec. So we all out in the joint, man. So when I stepped out the cell, I smelled a strong odor of tobacco. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can tell like when it's fresh tobacco in the building, like, or in the pod rather, like, because the smell is different. Like you'll smell roll-ups from here to there. You'll smell dudes smoking the tobacco because the tobacco stay up there. It be so much tobacco on Lawrenceville, they nicknamed it Hank. That was the nickname. Dudes wouldn't even say, you got tobacco, you got roll. Dudes be like, you got some Hank? Who got the Hank? And I promise y'all, I said that before in the story, but that's the nickname for tobacco. So it was nothing to come out your cell and smell somebody messing with a roll up. You could smell it, you know what I mean? But this time I smelled like fresh menthol. It was like a fresh mint. It smelled like the menthol was so fresh, like they just bought the bag. Like they bought the bag from wherever tobacco farm they got it from. That menthol smelled so fresh in the pod, man. So everybody was like, man, who got that junk, man? Everybody like, you know, people knows it. Everybody walking around, you know what I mean? Tim walked out. Tim seen me. He was like, you know what I mean? So he looked, I looked, I'm like, I just seen a couple dudes over at the dude Chambers sale. Chambers making a little money. So word come back, I was like, yo, that dude Chambers got the tobacco. So I'm like, man, that's what's up. So, you know, I wanted to roll up, but I was like, I don't know him. So I'm saying somebody had him. So I sent my roommate at him $5. My roommate went and got us a roll up. You know what I mean? So we ain't getting up with a roll up. So I wasn't tripping on nothing, but it was a known fact. And the rumor was, when Tim came back and told me, was that Chambers was the one that brought dude the tobacco. So like Chambers, so Tim was feeling good because Chambers definitely was moving. He was definitely bringing that pack. So I had went outside and saw my homeboy from 30 building. He was telling me that he had some Lala. He was trying to trade for some tobacco. Now he asked, was there any over there? He was like, cause it ain't none in 80 and 70 building. I was like, yeah, bro, dude just got some in my building. I'm talking to my man. We went to breakfast at the fence, like, you know what I mean? Like he was on me ASAP, you know what I mean? So he was like, yo, look, bro, tell him to bring it outside in the morning and see if he trying to trade. And we had rec. He was like, cause look, I'll trade him whatever spoons he want for some tobacco, just see if he mess with the Lala. So I was like, man, like I really didn't want to say nothing to dude, you know what I mean? But this was the opportunity for me to actually go introduce myself to the dude Chambers. So I was like, all right, I got you, bro. So I went back in the pod. I didn't see him out there when I first got back. So I mingled for a little bit. Then I finally seen him come out with his coffee cup, walking to the microwave. So I pull up on him. I said, yo, excuse me. He was like, he looked back. I was like, yo, what's up, man? How you doing? Weezy. You know what I mean? He stuck his hand out. He's like, what's up? I was like, look, man. I said, yo, you got some tobacco, right? He was like, yeah, I got a little bit. I said, man, look, my homeboy over in 30 building said he trying to trade some spoons for some of the tobacco. He was like, for real? I'm like, yeah. He was like, I'm trying to do it. How much you trying to get? I was like, it depends how much you trying to get rid of. You know what I mean? He was like, look, man, I'll give him 50 sack. Tell him give me $50 worth. I'll give him a 50 sack. I was like, all right, I'll tell him. I said, look, worst case scenario, I'll take the 50 sack outside. I said, yo, I'm in the pod with you, so I'll make the transaction. You know, you ain't got to worry about no BS. And he was like, oh, yeah, you good. Yeah, I trust you. I'm over here with you. I trust you. So I'm like, all right, that's what's up. So he went to the sale and got the 50 sack, gave it to me. And I waited till they call outside rec. I went outside and made a play. So when I come back in, you know what I mean? I go holler at him. I give it to him. Give him the spoons. So he like, man, appreciate that too, man. You know what I mean? Appreciate that. I was like, yeah, that's what's up, man. He was like, yeah. Like, for real, I be having that tobacco, though. If you ever need it, like, let me know. I be having that junk, you know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, that's what's up, man. You know what I mean? So I went back, like, kind of like it was already confirmed. Like, he confirmed it basically to me. Like, that's what's going on. Like, he didn't say Sergeant M, but basically, you just moving our pod. This is the only CO I see you in this face. This got to be the only one that's bringing you the pack, man. So I went back to Tim. I hollered at Tim, man. I went back to Tim's cell, knocked on the door. Tim came to the door. I was like, yo, what's up, bro? He was like, what's up? He got up. I was like, yo. I said, man, I just hollered at the dude Chambers. He was like, about what? I said, nah, I just middleman to play for some tobacco. And you know what I mean? My man on the other side, he was like, oh, so he got it like that, huh? I was like, yeah, he got it like that too, man. I said, but look, though, I said, that man basically confirmed that he's getting that pack from Yo Roller. He's getting it from Yo Roller, bro.
Get your money, don't care who judge. Stay out the way, surround yourself with nothing but love. Stay out the way if you a gangster, killer or thug. Stay out the way, put your faith in the man above. Stay out the way, chill with your family, siblings and blood. Stay out the way, kick it with your girl, forget hit in the club. Stay out the way, mind on your money, ain't no switching it up. Stay out the way, stand out the way, what you thought that it was. Stay out the way. If you stuck down on your luck, not feeling righteous, did a petty crime, just looking for some excitement. Now your name on affidavits and court indictments, get paid for a lot, but your freedom is priceless. You did the crime, you do the time, don't let it surprise you. Real stories from the heart, just to open your eyes up.